Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online VGC 15 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. We are featuring the brand new Trick Room team, which we used in the first two episodes of this week, and if you have not checked those out, definitely check them out because they were quite good games, especially with the new team, so I've had a lot of fun with it so far, and of course you may recognize it from the team building video that I had with Shady Penguin. But we're going to jump onto the ladder, currently with a rating of 1732, as we continue to try to climb up into the 1800s in this weekend of US Nationals, or this week of US Nationals. So as you guys know, we are only going to be playing one game for the episodes this week, so I hope you guys don't mind, but I got to prepare a bit for Nationals, which I'm leaving for tomorrow actually. And as always, if you enjoy Road to Rank, please show your support by leaving a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, our opponent for today is going to be a 1657 rated opponent from Japan, rocking some interesting Pokemon choices. We see the Landorus, Metagross, Sableye, Lapras, Garchomp, and the Aegislash. So Sableye and Lapras, definitely the two Pokemon sticking out the most, but it's also kind of interesting because we see Landorus and Garchomp. Often those are two Pokemon that are considered for similar roles. Not really, just because Landorus is so much better than Garchomp in terms of being a fast Rock Slide user, and it's not like you see a Garchomp with Choice Scarf really doing the same thing as Landorus does, but Landorus was really what replaced Garchomp in VGC 2013, and in 2015 too, we don't really see too much Garchomp because Landorus is so good, which is really funny because, Garchomp dominated VGC 2014 when it was once again, allowed, and Landorus wasn't in the format. But here Gardevoir is really good against 4 of my opponent's 6 Pokemon. The Metagross and the Aegislash obviously give me a bit of trouble, but that's what I have Scrafty and Heatran for. So figuring out what I want to lead with, like always, is the most important thing. Right now I'm leaning towards Scrafty Gardevoir though, just because, I can fake out. And mainly for the fake out, honestly. And I don't mind that, yeah, I do think I like that. I want Heatran in the back, and I actually am considering Jellicent for my last one. It's between Jellicent and Rotom here. Rotom hits the Lapras, obviously, for super effective. But Jellicent, ability to burn 3 of my opponent's physical type attackers is tempting, so I'm actually going to bring Jellicent. It's also one of my favorite Pokemon to use, so it's a lot of fun. And, I did a lot of work in the previous episode, so we'll see what I can do in today's episode as we jump right into it. Lapras is a pretty interesting call. It was actually on the senior finalist Mark McQuillan at the 2014 World Championships. He used that. So, definitely a viable Pokemon. A bunch of different ways you can run it, but we're going to see the Sableye and the Metagross lead for my opponent here, which is actually a very clever lead here, I think, because of the fact that he can fake out me before, because his Sableye should outspeed my Scrafty, so he can just fake out Scrafty and Iron Head / Meteor Mash, whatever, Gardevoir, which is kind of scary, but I have a pretty good way to deal with this. I'm going to pull out a double switch and bring a much more offensive weapon against this Metagross. Now, one of the two Pokemon here, going to be the Mega Evolution, since nothing else on my opponent's team could Mega Evolve. You'd assume it's Mega Metagross, but you'd never count Mega Sableye out. But I'm just going to bring in my other Trick Room user, which I know deals with both of these Pokemon a bit better, and Heatran also puts on a lot of offensive pressure as well, so even though that lead matchup looked quite dismal for me, hopefully my opponent doesn't make any crazy predictions and I am able to benefit off it. But we're going to see Metagross Mega Evolve here. Sometimes it likes to carry Earthquake, so that might give me some trouble, but we'll see in the following turns. I mean, I don't think he's going to Earthquake here. But we actually see the Protect from Metagross, which is kind of interesting. I wasn't anticipating that. Maybe he was expecting Protect from Gardevoir, as Confide comes out. Interesting, decreasing my special attack, yeah. Huh. Well, that's alright. I mean, now I'm going to Trick Room and Heat Wave. I maybe should have protected with Heatran, actually, to scout out for a Hammer Arm or Earthquake. But I should be bulky enough to survive either of those 2 attacks. He's actually going to withdraw Metagross, which is exactly what I was hoping for, so that's good. And in comes the Lapras. So Lapras make an appearance here. He does have Taunt with Sableye though, okay. So at least I do confirm that. It puts me in a bit more tricky of a position, though Heat Wave still does a relatively decent amount there. However, Jellicent not going to really want to be in this position anymore, so I'm going to switch out into Scrafty. Maybe I should double switch here. Yeah. Though I think, actually I don't want Scrafty to get burned by a Scald, even though it has a Assault Vest. Gardevoir can take it. So I'm going to double switch here. And you see the defensive nature of this team. It's not like a lot of offensive teams where you're just hounding with offense immediately. A lot of the times you want to put yourself into a position where your opponent has to make some good plays. And my opponent did make a very good play switching to Lapras there and going for the taunt. Should have anticipated taunt, but we didn't see it that first turn, so I was just trying to see what he was going to go for. I actually traced Water Absorb, which means if he goes for a Scald onto that Gardevoir slot, I'll be able to take it up, which is really nice here. Being able to bring in Scrafty here as well, which is great, but I don't know. It's still a bit tricky, especially if that Sableye has Will-O-Wisp, which you'd expect it to. I mean, we've seen Fake Out and we've seen Confide. He's actually going to launch another Confide, and that is a really cool animation. So that's going to target down Gardevoir. Of course, decreasing my special attack. We actually see the Freeze Dry coming out here, targeting down Scrafty. Of course, Jellicent swapping, which swapped in for Jellicent. But that's alright here. So I'm actually going to just Drain Punch, Mega Evolve, and Hyper Voice. I'm not going to go for the Trick Room here because obviously he revealed Taunt, and I really want Sableye gone, and one of the nice things about Mega Gardevoir is obviously it's Fairy type, so with Hyper Voice I can just knock Sableye out, hopefully with the super effectiveness. Even if he goes for another Confide, that's still double, 2 times super effective. So that plus the combination of Drain Punch hopefully can knock it both Pokemon out, even if not do a lot of damage. He might be Weakness Policy with the Lapras, which would be interesting, but he's actually going to switch out, which I am more than okay with. So in comes the Metagross once again, which is actually a very good play on his end. I should have predicted that and gone for a knockoff or a Super Fang. Actually, in retrospect, Super Fang definitely would have been the better play. So I misplayed a bit there, but we'll see what he goes for with the Scrafty, or not the Scrafty, the Sableye. He's going to Will-O-Wisp here, as Scrafty actually avoids it, which is pretty fortunate on my end here. So I'm going to be able to get this Hyper Voice off, and it does take out the Sableye in one hit. So Sableye really not doing too much this game other than, spamming Confide, but definitely got to feel pretty good about my position right now. However, he still has Metagross, and it looks like I got a critical hit there as well, so RNG definitely on my side this turn, doing probably triple the amount of damage with Scrafty than I really should have been doing. I wouldn't mind a Burn Scrafty, but that just makes this game a lot more easier to play with, especially since Metagross is Mega Evolved. Now when I bring in Scrafty once again, I'll be able to get an Intimidate off. Now he doesn't have a way to really deny me of setting up Trick Room, so this is a really good start to the game. And it's kind of funny that I say start because it's already been 5 minutes, but when you play with this team, if you watch me play with Shady Penguin, he always mentioned how it's like a puzzle piece, and a lot of Pokemon games are like puzzle pieces, but this game, or this team especially. So he's going to bring in Garchomp, which I'm okay with, obviously. And I think here I'm just going to switch into Jellicent and Protect. Oop, not Psychic. That way I get 2 Trick Room users. He's, really hounded with these attackers and these Trick Room users, which, are trying to set up Trick Room. So if I can bring in Jellicent here, then I can swap out my Gardevoir for Scrafty the consequent turn, set up Trick Room. And once Trick Room goes out, Gardevoir wins this game. He really doesn't have a great way to deal with Hyper Voice whatsoever. I mean, Metagross can take it, but you see he's already at low enough HP that a Hyper Voice plus any other attack will knock it out. So I'm going to bring Jellicent here because it's very defensive. He actually protects with Garchomp. Not really understanding that play because at this point you're already behind. And when you're in my opponent's position, you need to try to predict the switches. I think that's one of the important things of playing with the team. He actually goes for the Bullet Punch onto Gardevoir, which shouldn't have even knocked me out. But now I get a great turn because I'm going to be able to Trick Room and swap back out into Scrafty. And this is kind of crazy because I haven't actually taken any damage yet. There was the Freeze Dry onto Scrafty, but I was able to heal that back up with Drain Punch. So that's one of the nice things with this team is even though it's kind of bulkier, with Recover on Jellicent, with Drain Punch on Scrafty, you can heal back a lot. So it is a lot of fun. Now I'm gonna make sure I get that double Intimidate off to ensure that he basically has no way to one-hit KO my Jellicent here, especially with my Citrus Berry. He could Rock Slide Zen Headbutt here to try to go for some flinches, but I'd imagine he wouldn't predict that. And even if he does, I'm at the point now where I can just Fake Out. But he does go for the Zen Headbutt, so nice play on my opponent's end there, trying to deny me of that Trick Room. I actually activate the Cursed Body. And he does go for the Rock Slide. Wow, so my opponent proving me that he's a very smart player. Going for the play to try to deny me of Trick Room. And Cursed Body just activating twice, getting rid of both moves. I mean, I didn't need either of that, because even if I don't get Trick Room up here, I get the Fake Out. I do get the flinch here, which I feel like is kind of deserved. But now I'm just going to Trick Room once again and go for the Fake Out onto the Metagross. Not going to target down Garchomp because Garchomp can Earthquake, can Dragon Claw, but he's not going to be able to knock me out, especially with that Intimidate. But my opponent making the best play possible that last turn and getting the flinch, so credits to him. But unfortunately, Cursed Body activated on both. That just ensures that he doesn't have a way to flinch me. And I'm going to Fake Out the Metagross because he might choose to Iron Head me as well. Metagross obviously being a bit more offensive. Intimidated Garchomp is never a happy Garchomp, especially when you don't have a attack boosting item like Life Orb or Expert Belt. So things are looking really solid for me at this point, and I mean, I'm looking, I know I've gotten very lucky with RNG at this point, but I still feel like the team matchup is just heavily in my favor. Like, even if he, hits Scrafty with Will-O-Wisp, it's not like Scrafty's really needed to do much damage at this point in the game. He actually withdraws the Garchomp, which is a very smart play, gonna go into that Lapras, making sure that, he puts on a bit more offensive pressure, but he's not gonna protect with Metagross. I'm gonna get a Fake Out off for free, and more importantly, get the Trick Room up. So, things are looking quite good at this point. He just has no way to stop all these really bulky Pokemon, honestly. So now I'm just going to Will-O-Wisp the Lapras, and I'm going to knock off the Metagross. At this point, Lapras is just going to slowly faint. You can Freeze Dry me, sure, but with Mega Gardevoir in the back, once Metagross goes down, Mega Gardevoir just comes in, Hyper Voice, and wins the game. That's one of the fun things about Mega Gardevoir teams. You play with knowing that you've got Trick Room and Hyper Voice stuck in the back, and so a lot of the times you want to heavily damage all your opponent's Pokemon, then bring in Mega Gardevoir and just Hyper Voice everything. He makes another good play though with drawing Metagross, so trying to stall out Trick Room by making some good switches and conserving it. So my opponent is playing very well, despite the position that he's in. But offensive Scrafty here with that knockoff does around 50%, which is absolutely insane. Getting rid of its Focus Sash actually. Jellicent unfortunately connects with the Will-O-Wisp here onto Lapras, so Lapras now obviously going to be losing some HP every turn as he goes for the sheer cold onto Scrafty, but unfortunately he misses. Man, that would have been clutch. I actually really wanted to see a hit just for the animation. But I'm just going to Will-O-Wisp Garchomp here and Drain Punch the Lapras. I mean, really not much my opponent can do at this point. We've seen Bullet Punch. I guess we haven't seen Heatran's last attack. But I presume it's not anything that could really hit Heatran for hard because he withdrew the Metagross earlier on. So Gardevoir Heatran can, lock the game up. He actually withdraws the Lapras back out into Metagross, which is alright. I think Lapras is actually a bit better in the position that it's in, but he's just trying to stall out Trick Room. But, with that I get more and more damage off each turn. Let's see if Drain Punch is enough to knock out Metagross since this Scrafty is pretty offensive. Nope, falls short just a bit. But, that's fine. But my opponent is doing a good job of trying to stall out this Trick Room as much as possible. So with that, I'm just going to Will-O-Wisp Garchomp and Drain Punch it. Because if he switches out into Lapras, then I get the Drain Punch off. If he stays in, I get to burn it, and he's basically done for. But this game is dragging on because my opponent is making the best plays possible, knowing that if he wants a chance of winning, he probably has to stall out Trick Room and then rely on Lapras and maybe get some flinches here with Rock Slide. He protects with Metagross and doesn't switch out, so that's actually ideal here because I'll be able to burn the Garchomp and get a Drain Punch off. We're probably going to see an Earthquake come out. Drain Punch not going to knock it out, unfortunately, but just coming a bit short. But as long as Will-O-Wisp connects here, he'll faint from the burn in 2 turns, it looks like. We'll see if I connect here with Will-O-Wisp, though. Jellicent hitting the Will-O-Wisp, so perhaps Jellicent proving itself a much better Will-O-Wisp user than that Rotom Wash that I've always been using. But we do see the Earthquake come out here. Let's see how much it does. Really doesn't do too much, as Garchomp is 1 turn away from getting knocked out from the burn. So I'm just going to recover here, and I'm going to Drain Punch the Metagross, because Garchomp is doing absolutely nothing. He's going to protect with Metagross, and he actually gets the double protect, so nice for him. That was probably the best play possible, because you want to make sure you have 2 Pokemon going into the turns after Trick Room expires. If he lost 2 Pokemon this turn, the game surely would have been over. He's going to go for the Earthquake, because Garchomp's going down here, so your only chance of winning is basically conserving that Metagross a bit longer. But that's, perfectly fine with me. Garchomp goes down. I can switch out Scrafty for future Intimidate, and yeah, it's really just dragging on at this point. But, good for my opponent to not give up, because anytime you have a Pokemon that can flinch, and faster Pokemon, you should still go for it. The game is still definitely not over yet as Lapras comes in. But now I'm just going to Trick Room and switch Scrafty out into Heatran. Yeah. We'll see what he goes for, but regardless, the Lapras is slowly losing HP from the burn, which is why I targeted with Will-O-Wisp earlier. I'll be able to bring in Scrafty for future Intimidate, which means Metagross, even if it has something like Earthquake and Hammer Arm, shouldn't be able to knock out Heatran after the Intimidate. I can just fake out Heat Wave. He's actually going to go for a Bullet Punch there onto Heatran, so, proves that the Heatran switch-in was a good play, as that was a critical hit, and he did 12 damage. We actually hilariously see the Surf come out, so my opponent decides, you know what, I'm just going to knock out my own Metagross. You've done enough. So, Metagross goes down. I'm obviously not Water Absorb, but Curse Body activates for the 3rd time. This Jellicent really loves me. Maybe I should be using this Jellicent. Maybe this is what I want to bring to Nationals. I've never had a Pokemon do so much for me in one game. Cursed Body 3 times. Will-O-Wisps connecting. Oh my gosh, Jellicent, you're the best. I love you. But now, yeah, I mean, it's basically game over. I'll just switch out into Scrafty and Heat Wave. I mean, once Gardevoir comes in, one Hyper Voice wins the game. But I don't want Jellicent in here just because it's doing absolutely nothing. Whereas opposed to Scrafty, which can at least get Fake Out off if he doesn't KO that slot. So, you know, just playing proactively. It's not like one of those times where I'm just conserving a 4-0 for the sake of conserving a 4-0. It's more like Jellicent does absolutely nothing here. Might as well just make sure I get that win. Sheer Code actually manages to hit here. That is crazy. I really wanted to see its animation. So good for my opponent. Gonna be able to knock out that Scrafty. It's a one-hit KO. And at this point, obviously, you know, there's nothing a Lapras can do, especially when it's burned. But, you know, really hard-fought battle here. A bunch of very interesting sets. You know, the Confide on the Sableye, obviously the Sheer Cold on Lapras too. But Mega Gardevoir is going to be able to come in, and now we can just Psychic and Earth Power, and that's going to be a good game. Very interesting team for my opponent here, though. And I feel like the reason why I won this one is just he didn't have enough offense quickly enough, and with the Intimidate, I was able to cycle through and able to set up Trick Room, you know, twice in the game. That definitely helps out a lot. So that was our longest game yet with this team, but pretty decisive victory still. So we are 3-0 with the team so far this week, which is great as we try to climb into the 1800s, and it's definitely been a lot of fun. You know, none of these games have been very quick, like 5-minute wins. They've been more methodical and drawn out, but those are the games that you really enjoy in VGC. So that was really fun. Hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Leave a like always if you did. If you did enjoy it. If you haven't checked out the last few episodes, I highly recommend it as well because it's really fun to use this team against those kind of teams as well. So yeah, that's going to be it for this one. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, peace.